That's awesome. Hi, this is Ike from Mike'sOutdoors.com. Today we're going to be doing a little how-to video. We're going to show you how to change the cord in a Ripcord Rest. I've got a Ripcord Rest here that has got a fray on the cord, and it's kind of catching a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and change that out. So I thought I'd just put this camera over my shoulder and show you how I do that real quick. It's a real quick, real easy job, and if you're careful with it, that's the main thing. You just got to be careful with this. Don't lose any of the screws or the spring inside of it. And you can do this real quick, real easy with very little problems. So the only thing you're going to need is a set of Allen wrenches. And you're going to get to see my dirty welding, scarred up, burned up welding hands real close up. So I'm just going to put this camera down over my shoulder and show you what we're doing here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is using our Allen wrenches. We're going to take the arm off. Pretty simple to do. You guys have messed with these before. All I gotta do is pop this bolt right here on top and just take that all the way out. Till you're left with that. Now you can take this plunger off, might make it a little bit easier, but the couple times I've done this, I never have. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop this housing off the side here. Popping this housing off the side is pretty easy to do. All you got to do is take a couple of these bolts out. One bolt on top. Now be careful when you're doing this. This is spring loaded. So grab a hold of it. Always grab hold of it nice and securely. And pay attention to how things are inside before you pop this thing loose. You don't have to pay too much attention because I'm going to show you how everything's supposed to lay. Just be careful when you pop this because it is spring loaded, and if you let this go, you're not going to lose that last bolt, you're going to lose that spring in there as well. Okay, so there's the inner workings of your ripcord. What I do is I'll relax the thing, and then what I'll do is I'll pull my spring out, set that aside, and push it up, and then you've got your cord here. Now how you take this cord out is you got this brass keeper here. Pull that brass keeper out. Okay, once you got that brass keeper out, all you got to do is pull that cord, push that cord out, cut the end of it with a pair of scissors, and then pull your cord on through. Okay, so here's the cord that came out. You can see that it's pretty frayed. I don't know, I caught it on something and got it all frayed up. So what I've done is I've taken the cord that's exactly the same, and I just ran it through the hole in my ripcord there. Put my brass keeper back on there. Ran it back through the slot that's made for it. Took my lighter and burned the end, and you can see there I've got a very, very small burn on it. Just enough that it catches. That's all you need right there. You want it to lay flat in there. You don't want this thing to be sticking out real far and catching on stuff. So what I'm going to do now is make sure my brass keeper, you can see the hole is not centered. The hole is actually up toward one side. So you want that smaller side to be up. You slide that brass keeper back down into its original spot and pull your cord through nice and tight. And then what I'll do is I'll just squeeze it and put it back in the housing. Like I said, this is a real easy process to do. I hope I'm showing this well. It's kind of tough looking through the viewfinder of this camera and trying to get everything back in place. There. Now, push that back in there. Now make sure everything's working good before I put my thing back on, my cover back on. Make sure everything's sliding nice and good, and look for the burr, because it might have been a burr that caused that cord to be separating like that. A lot of guys are just going to be replacing this because they want something fancier. You can take the put these colored ones on there and stuff like that. I'm just putting a regular green and brown one back on there. So with it in the up position like this, you want to put your spring back on there. You can see that spring's going to catch there. Put it on the bottom, and your little catch right there on top, you point it right back toward that brass piece. Now, this is where things get tricky. This is where I may have a little trouble with this camera too. You're going to put your cover back on, line that up with that spring. Now you're going to rotate this thing clockwise. Rotate it clockwise, and then you're going to put your two bolts back in there. This is maybe a little difficult for me to do with this camera, so let's see what we can do. Maybe I can sit down and do it. Okay, so we got it pointing back toward the brass deal there. Slide my cover on, rotate it clockwise, and hold on for dear life. There we go. Now hopefully I've got it still lined up good and I can get the top one in there without no problems. Okay, so before I take the time to reattach it, I'll make sure it works. Everything seems to be working just fine. I drop my top bar back on there, and nice thing about these ripcords is it's got your windage marks there. So once you get ready to put this back on, you'll have your number. You'll know exactly which mark it should line up with, and this thing will be ready to go right back on a bow. And that's it. That's all it is. All there is to changing the ripcord, the cord on your Ripcord Rest. The hardest part about it is when you take that cover off, make sure that you keep everything nice and tight, nice and secure, and don't let it all fly apart. And once you get that thing lined up, and remember your spring, the short keeper goes up toward your piece of brass, and you rotate your ripcord side plate clockwise and put your two bolts back in there. So I hope this helps you guys. If you're going to be changing your own cord on your Ripcord Rest, be sure to visit our website. It's ikesoutdoors.com, and I highly recommend this Ripcord Rest. It's about all I use on my bows. You can visit their website, and that is ripcordarrowrest.com. Appreciate you guys watching.
I like good times, good wine, good smoke, and a five-piece bed. And I can't help it, it's just